Hi everyone, Editor Dorkus here to apologize for the poor audio quality from me in the next 3 episodes. I was house sitting and unable to record with my home equipment. To mitigate as much of this issue as I can, I will re-record the book passages and fit them in where appropriate, but I will be leaving the conversation with Kitteh untouched. Thanks for the understanding. Statement of appreciation.
We're recording. Start.
Yay! Deja
Hi.
vu?
Yeah.
Hi.
Mm.
Wow. Okay, hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, ThatDarnKitteh. Kitty and I are both going into this story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way. This is Mistborn Abridged, a blind read-through, and today we will be covering chapter 14.
14!
14. Chapter 14. Welcome.
Excellent. Okay, so the first thing I have to say is Kitteh and I don't generally message each other between recording sessions about the chapters that we've read, or the chapter each week that we read. And at the end of this chapter, I had so much going on in my mind that I had to message her 3 or 4 times with notes. Okay, I have to talk to you about this. I have to talk to you about that. Here's my list of suspects. So much going on that I cannot wait to talk to you about. How was your experience reading this, Kitteh?
Yes, it was okay. So mine is my experience mostly was I need to read the next chapter.
It was so hard not to.
Yes, it's so hard not to. So that was my most, what do you call it? My immediate reaction was just, okay, this is going to be a tough one to sit on for a week. Yes, we continue. We have a lot of action in this chapter. That is what made me just really eager to get to the next one, because it was kind of like a cliffhanger, and I guess that's exciting. That's what we'll get to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And let's get straight into it, shall we?
Epigraph.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm going mad. Perhaps it is due to the pressure of knowing that I must somehow bear the burden of an entire world. Perhaps it is caused by the death I have seen, the friends I have lost, the friends I've been forced to kill. Either way, I sometimes see shadows following me, dark creatures that I don't understand nor wish to understand. Are they perhaps some figment of my overtaxed mind?
So I think it was a chapisode or 2 ago where I had theorized that Epigraph Man fails to stop the deepness, or he is like semi-successful, like he's able to push it off temporarily, but like in the process he gets possessed by Cthulhu, right? But did we have that discussion?
Yes, we did. And there is some, or like there's some cost, there's some counterstroke, there's something. It's not as success. I think what we can land on for sure is that it's not as successful as he's trying to make it sound to the rest of the world afterwards.
Yes.
Because there are repercussions, as we can see. They're starting to make themselves manifest.
Yes, and he talks about somehow bear the burden of an entire world. I forget when it was when you said it. You thought that one of the previous epigraphs might have happened after stopping the deepness. So if we presume that the deepness at this point in the epigraphs has been stopped, bunny ears, then
Yeah.
then he the fate of the world, he is bearing that burden in perpetuity, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure whether this is all leading up to the happening of the deepness. I don't know. I can't. A lot of them, a lot of the epigraphs seem like they're just on the way to finding the deepness. And yeah, there are some that could be either or. It seems like what I would like to clarify is I think that even the fact that he was traveling to the deepness or whatever, the wars and things like that, I think that happened as he was traveling there as well. So there was strife the way that I did this, of course, because I frame it with Wheel of Time, is with Wheel of Time. There's the last battle. It's literally called the last battle, and but there's lots of conflict that happens before that. There's lots of war that happens before that, basically on the way to the last battle. And that's how I see a lot of these epigraphs, is like it's not that the deepness is fight is the only fight. There's lots of things that have that, lots of geopolitical things that were going on that we don't have the knowledge about yet. Hopefully, I just want to read wherever this came from. God, that is just every time we talk about this epigraph, I'm like, just give me the whole book, please.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in Game of Thrones, the White Walkers are supposed to represent like the needless warfare, the death that is brought about by the petty squabbles brought on by the Game of Thrones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or something to that effect. I'm sure someone else could put that much more eloquently than I just did. But I'm wondering if the deepness is similar or is supposed to sort of echo that idea that the White Walkers are supposed to represent.
There's well, he has even alluded to that whole thing, that like there is something that should make you all come together, and that is this huge threat. That's usually how it happens. The nuances around that, then the maneuverings, the Game of Thrones of it all, then gets in the way. I see that. What else? Oh yes, another thing I wanted to talk about, Wheel of Time wise. Sorry, but Wheel of Time, in Wheel of Time, the men go crazy because of the power that they use, because there was a counterstroke from their version of, I suppose, the deepness. We don't really know what the deepness is, but it sounds like it's a big bad. So the Dark One, literally called the Dark One, has a counterstroke in the Wheel of Time, and that is something that makes the men go crazy after using this power. And I would be remiss, and I've become thank you commenters, because now I have to remember the Wheel of Time comments. But even actually, there's even guys that do start seeing apparitions and dark creatures and shadows and things because of this madness. So I started thinking of that this takes a toll on Lord Ruler Epigraph Man's psyche. But at the same time, it's real. It's not that it's just, oh, okay, it's an overtaxed mind. It's like, no, it is a result of the deepness. I think the deepness has, like you said in the beginning of this discussion, like it hasn't lost completely. And I think that is it's not just a symptom of his overtaxed mind. Yes, more on
Agreed.
epigraph in this chapter, actually.
Yes. Well, shall we get into the chapter then?
Let's go!
It started raining soon after they located the coin pouch. It wasn't a hard rain, but it seemed to clear the mist slightly. Vin shivered, pulling up her hood, crouching beside Kelsier on a rooftop. He didn't pay the weather much heed, so neither did she. A little dampness wouldn't hurt. In fact, it would probably help, as the rainfall would cover the sounds of their approach. Kredik Shaw lay before them. The peaked spires and sheer towers rose like dark talons in the night. They varied greatly in thickness. Some were wide enough to house stairwells and large rooms, but others were simply thin rods of steel jutting up into the sky. The variety gave the mass a twisted, off-center symmetry, and almost balance. The spikes and towers had a foreboding cast in the damp, misty night, like the ash-blackened bones of a long-weathered carcass. Looking at them, Vin thought she felt something. A depression. As if simply being close to the building was enough to suck away her hope.
Now, when I first read that, I had a moment, and I think it was an incorrect thought, but a wonder if the deepness was here in this spot, and that's why all of the spires are like built the way they were. But then it occurred to me that the deepness, in theory, is north of Terrace, right? Because Epigraph Man was on his way through Terrace, heading north.
Yeah.
But I think you were about to say something, Kidde.
No, I saw. Yeah, I was hoping we would stop there as well, because I had the same thoughts of, okay, wait, so did we not know where Terrace was? So I did look at the map, and I'm like, no, wait, no, Terrace is still Terrace. It's not that it like it's, some cataclysm occurred, and suddenly central dominance is where Terrace was or whatever. No, there's still something called Terrace. But it doesn't mean that I do still associate that feeling with the deepness, because it's obvious that he wanted us to make that connection. When he puts in the epigraph, I can feel our destination coming closer,
Yeah.
whatever, that whole thing. And then you make that connection and you can see Vin is now feeling this thing. And so all that means to me is it is the deepness, an effect. That all we can say is that it's an effect of the deepness. Maybe when this whole fight or whatever occurred, he takes it into himself or something. Something he's brought it here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we both agree that this is not just the way the place looks. Shall we say it's a physical fact that it feels different.
Right, and we'll get to it, but Kelsier more or less says a little while later in this chapter that the Lord Ruler radiates this depressive aura, which, going in line with what you just said, had me wondering if he took the darkness upon himself, or the deepness upon himself, and now it moves with him or something.
Yeah. I think I like that we have the possibility in mind that he could have done this self-sacrificing thing, but at the same time he went and he's not this perfect being that doesn't have any ego, or that isn't. I mean, he's like, oh, I had to kill my friends and things like that. So he's not a perfect person, but he does this ultimate sacrifice. So it's like, what if? So the whole idea of Christ is he's this perfect being that sacrifices himself. So he's based on Christ, but he's got none of the Christ-like qualities.
Dark Christ.
He's dark, yeah. So
that almost sounds vampiric to me. Like, you are who you are. You have your soul. You are both good and bad mixed together, and then the vampire bites you and brings you back, and suddenly you are, in some iterations, a soulless being, or in other iterations, you are you on your worst day with your darkest impulses only.
Damned.
What?
Damned.
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it's like a reversal of the Christ story.
No, it doesn't have to be like a reversal. It's just like I can see the comparison. That's all. He tried to set himself up as, I'm the sliver of eternity and I'm part of God, which is, you would expect because remember we spoke about the Trinity and all of that.
Yeah.
That he's trying to set himself up as part of God. And hey, Ham would love our conversation, I think, because we're talking about God being goodness, right? He's set himself up as being God and goodness, but he's not. He's got the immorality. So it's like, what if the Dark Lord won? Yeah, he's the Dark Lord.
Then you could get into the whole light needs, or shadows need light to be cast, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh God, you would. Okay, so as much as just the need for light and dark. Oh, you need to be reading Wheel of Time, but anyway.
I will get to it eventually.
One day.
I promise.
But yeah, I think we just agree that this feeling related to the deepness. That's all we can know.
Yes.
That seems, well, at least what Brandon wants us to think.
Right.
Our target is a tunnel complex at the base of one of the far-right spires, Kelsier said, his voice barely carrying over the quiet hush of the falling rain. We're heading for a room at the very center of the complex.
What's inside?
I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. Once every 3 days, and today isn't one of them, the Lord Ruler visits this chamber. He stays for 3 hours, then leaves. I tried to get in once before, 3 years ago.
The job. The one that
got me captured, Kelsier said with a nod. Yes. At the time, we thought that the Lord Ruler stored riches in the room. I don't think that's true now, but I'm still curious. The way he visits is so regular, so odd. Something's in that room, Vin, something important. Maybe it holds the secret to his power and immortality.
Why do we need to worry about that? You have the 11th metal to defeat him, don't you?
Kelsier frowned slightly. Vin waited for an answer, but he didn't ever give one.
I was like, Oh, well, of course, because he doesn't know.
He doesn't know. Yeah, right. I was like, oh, that omission. She noted it. Don't worry. She knows that he didn't
Yes.
give the answer, but the dramatic irony is beautiful. We're like, oh yes, we know why he's not giving that answer.
Yep.
Mm.
I failed to get in last time, Vin, he said instead. We got close, but we got there too easily. When we arrived, there were Inquisitors outside the room, waiting for us.
Someone told him you were coming?
Kelsier nodded. We planned that job for months. We were overconfident. But we had reason to be. Mare and I were the best. The job should have gone flawlessly. Tonight, I didn't plan it all. We're just going in. We'll silence anyone who tries to stop us, then break into that room.
Then I
Okay.
thought, whoa, damn,
Yeah.
no plan.
Yeah, right. Okay. He just shat all over everything I said in the previous
And
chapter. Yeah.
and that line is very specific to some stuff we have to talk about when they get to the room,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I think this line is a little bit illuminating for what may have not happened last time.
Yes, that's very true. That is a good point. Okay,
Yeah.
so my point there, just to bring it back to my chapter, so it said, look what happened when your expectations get dashed. It's fun, okay? Because remember, I was harping on about the fact that we are continuing this mission tonight because he's got a plan, and you know what? Now Vin's around, so he just has to continue with the plan. Because things are in place, he has to keep going, right? That's why he can't just
Mhm.
go back home and they can have a talk about it. It has to be tonight. Meantime, Kelsey is just being properly impulsive.
Yep.
He's just like, "Oh, okay, I
Madness.
understand. I understand that. Okay, today is not one of the days that he comes in because he comes in every third day. I understand that being a factor, but the thing is, it's not. You could have waited for the next cycle. Okay, so that's
Yes.
not a good enough reason for you to have to rush in tonight. So he's properly impulsive, but guess what? Good writing. We know that he's like this. This is not out of character. This just
True.
because we
It's a
don't
flaw.
like. Just because we don't like that he's done this, because I was like, oh, look at me criticizing. I'm like, yeah, I'm criticizing Kelsier as a character, not Brandon
And as a
Sanderson.
person.
Yeah, as a person, yes. But whoa, you've been really foolhardy. But hello, literally, he is.
This was reckless.
Yes, he's reckless. It was. This is egregious. Okay, just we'll get to why. People that haven't read it, we'll get to why.
Yeah.
It was absolutely what the hell, Kelsier. But yeah, so he's like, oh, I didn't plan it tonight. So okay, so we do have the logic of he seems to think that because of the betrayal, it's too risky to say that to say when you're going to do this. So I understand that the lack of plan. He sees the lack of plan as a benefit in this regard, but you can see that that's yeah. He clearly, let's establish, he clearly thinks that the presence of Inquisitors was because of the betrayal. That's what we've gotten from this line and this conversation with Vin.
Yes.
Oh, also, I just wanted to ask, we haven't established why your did we mention your audio would be different in this episode?
Right. I am house sitting for a bit, so I am using a totally different setup with which to record this. So please bear with me for the next couple of episodes. I had explained to Kitty several episodes ago now just how much I enjoy the ritual of doing this podcast with her. And it was important to me that even though we record several chapters ahead so that there isn't a break in content when one of us isn't able to record, that we still come and record what we can if we are able to.
Yeah, we're
Because it's
committed.
so much fun. We're committed.
Yes. And we just
And
we want to get through the story. We've gotten into such a groove of it. We just didn't want, so as much as we could have skipped a recording or two. No.
we have
Preferable
to,
to remain.
especially after this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's great. When I get back home, I'll have, you know, a good amount of editing to do, but it'll be fun.
I'll be sure to add so many things that you need to cut out. Thank you.
I expect nothing less.
Vin sat quietly, feeling the chill rainwater on her wet hands and damp arms. Then she nodded. Kelsier smiled slightly. No objections? Vin shook her head.
I made you take me with you. It's not my place to object now.
Kelsier chuckled. Guess I've been hanging out with Breeze too long. I don't feel right unless someone tells me I'm crazy. Vin shrugged. However, as she moved on the rooftop, she felt it again. The sense of depression coming from Kredik Shaw.
There is something, Kelsier. The palace feels wrong somehow.
And that's the Lord Ruler. He radiates like an incredibly powerful soother, smothering the emotions of everyone who gets close to him. Turn on your copper. That'll make you immune.
So that's obviously the line that we mentioned a little while back now, that he just radiates that energy.
Yeah, he radiates that energy and somehow, okay, obviously because we have emotional animancy, burning copper would help you with that. But he does say that he radiates like an incredibly powerful soother, and he smothers your emotions. But this seems like there's an actual feeling. It's not about smothering. We've heard soothing described, but this is more, and you'll see Vin does actually think of it more like pushing. There's like it's forcing her to feel this way. It's not actually about dampening. It's more like so she's experiencing something different to Kelsier. I don't know, something slightly different. Maybe she understands it differently. I don't know.
I agree. And we also know that Vin is a very special person. She has main character energy. And like, if you think about Breeze and you imagine an area, like a spherical area around Breeze that can expand, you wonder where the limitation of his soothing would stop at. Like, if he were at the center of a baseball stadium, could he soothe everyone in that baseball stadium? Could he soothe someone halfway across the continent? Presumably not. We don't know where the Lord Ruler is right now. We don't know if he's in his throne room or if he's out of the city or not. But we do know that Vin has basically just snuck onto Kredik Shaw's grounds, and the Lord Ruler is not, as far as we're aware, anywhere close, like immediately close.
Yeah, immediately close. He's not like a couple steps away. He's not in the room, if you know, like in that vicinity. He's not in the vicinity. He's in the and also the size of Kredik Shaw means that he wouldn't be like. Yeah. You're saying that the range of Lord Ruler is quite large.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vin nodded, burning copper. Immediately the sensation went away. Good? She nodded again. All right then, he said, giving her a handful of coins. Stay close to me and keep your atium handy, just in case. With that, he threw himself off the roof. Vin followed, her cloak tassels spraying rainwater. She burned pewter as she fell and hit the ground with allomantically strengthened legs. Kelsier took off at a dash, and she followed. Her speed on the wet cobblestones would have been reckless, but her pewter-fueled muscles reacted with precision, strength, and balance. She ran in the wet, misty night, burning tin and copper, one to let her see, the other to let her hide. Kelsier rounded the palace complex. Oddly, the grounds had no outer wall.
Of course they don't. Who would dare attack the Lord Ruler?
I appreciated that. I thought that was cool. Like, it's more of that art and style affected by worldly circumstances.
And yeah, it's just a throw-in line that helps us understand. Yeah, the depth, deepness, the depth of the Lord Ruler's rule. Who would dare? No, I won't have walls. I don't need walls. There's the walls that I've put up are psychological. So
yes,
psychological, authoritarian. They're not visible, but they're there.
Flat space covered in cobblestones was all that surrounded the Hill of 1,000 Spires. No tree, foliage, or structure stood to distract one's eyes from the disturbing asymmetric collection of wings, towers, and spires that was Kredik Shaw. Here we go, Kelsier whispered, his voice carrying to her tin-enhanced ears. He turned, dashing directly toward a squat, bunker-like section of the palace. As they approached, Vin saw a pair of guards standing by an ornate, gate-like door. Kelsier was on the men in a flash, cutting one down with slashing knives. The second man tried to cry out, but Kelsier jumped, slamming both feet into the man's chest. Thrown to the side by the inhumanly strong kick, the guard crashed into the wall, then slumped to the ground. Kelsier was on his feet a second later, slamming his weight against the door and pushing it open. Weak lantern light spilled out of a stone corridor within. Kelsier ducked through the door. Vin dimmed her tin, then followed in a crouching dash, her heart pounding. Never in all her time as a thief had she done something like this. Hers had been a life of sneaky burgling and scamming, not raids or mugging. As she followed Kelsier down the corridor, their feet and cloak leaving a wet trail on the smooth stonework, she nervously pulled out a glass dagger, gripping the leather-wrapped handle in a sweaty palm. A man stepped into the hallway right in front of them, exiting what appeared to be some sort of guard chamber. Kelsier jumped forward and elbowed the soldier in the stomach, then slammed him against the wall. As the guard collapsed, Kelsier ducked into the room.
So I'm getting a sense that things are moving really, really quickly right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Lots of action. It
Good,
is.
stealthy Batmaning.
Yeah. Yes, Batmaning, one and done, get ready, get next enemy, boom, boom, boom. But this is what I'm experiencing here is more, okay, as another read through, I'm actually shaking my head more at what Kelsier has done here. Because look at Vin, she doesn't know what. They haven't practiced this kind of thing. They don't fight together. They've fought each other in training, but they haven't taken on enemies together. And this is your first foray. This one,
Yeah.
this is the first attack we go with. You haven't brought her along with you on. I understand because you don't want two Mistborns. There's some perception there. If there's two Mistborn attacking a noble house, that will mean something. But like, you brought her along. In all her life, she's never done something like this, and she's coping well, fine. But I just keep shaking. I don't know. This is a new a new feeling, because this isn't my first reread of the chapter. But just as you're reading it, I'm shaking my head like, Kelsier, what the hell, dude?
What
Bad
were you
Kelsier.
thinking?
Yeah.
She wasn't ready. And it's sort of like Sazed said, you like her, and you feel bad about using her, but not enough that you'll stop using her.
And she knows that as well. She's like, oh, I don't expect to die, to live till the end of the year. She knows that, but that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah. Kelsier really should have said, okay, I'm just going to do it next week then. And he should have put her in front of Sazed and said, Sazed, do not let her leave this chair.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's no two ways about it. Just be firm with her, okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. But we have already established that he does have this reckless need to fight the Lord Ruler and to continue with this, and the recklessness extends.
Well,
Vin.
although I will say we had discussed possibilities of Kelsier or Vin being the real prophesied hero, and I'm wondering if Epigraph Man could feel his destination, if he could feel the deepness, and it's like drawing to him, and he begins to feel this calling. What's to say that Kelsier isn't having that same feeling, being drawn to the deepness to try and stop it? Although we do get Kelsier's POV, and there's no mention of it, so probably not. But interesting thought.
Well, Vin certainly feels things. That's what I'm thinking.
True.
Vin followed, stepping into chaos. Kelsier pulled a metal candelabrum from the corner up into his hands, then began to spin with it, striking down soldier after soldier. Guards cried out, scrambling and grabbing staves from the side of the room. A table covered in half-eaten meals was thrown to the side as men tried to make room. A soldier turned toward Vin, and she reacted without thinking. She burned steel and threw out a handful of coins. She pushed, and the missile shot forward, tearing through the guard's flesh, dropping him. She burned iron, pulling the coins back to her hand. She turned with a bloodied fist, spraying the room with metal, dropping 3 soldiers. Kelsier felled the last with his impromptu staff.
I just killed 4 men.
Vin thought, stunned. Before, Reen had always done the killing.
The imagery of like her blood running through her fist, grasping those coins, was visceral for me.
Right.
Very vivid.
Oh. Yeah,
And
she just. Oh, yes.
just like everything is black. It's black marble, it's ash, it's gray, it's misty. I imagined her hand almost in black and white, except the
Mm-hmm.
red dripping blood was how I pictured that. If I were animating this, if I were directing this,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
That's like the only color that we're experiencing is this
in that
red, and
moment, yes.
and you don't get a description of the coins ripping through the man's flesh. You actually get, so she sprayed the coins, but then she gets them back with his blood on it. I think that was also just she's acting without thinking. It's just she's doing the thing, then they come back and there's blood, and it just masterful. I
Yeah.
really love the way that happened. And yes, then she has this thought that I just killed 4 men. Like, she had to do what she had to do, but she has that feeling. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hold on, I've just killed. And yes, she's been in the underground. She's had people killed in front of her, but she's never had to do that. And this is the first time, and she does feel that, which is it's
Yes.
totally within her character. Oh,
And
brilliant.
Vin is, using the D&D alignment chart, I would put Vin as much more good than
Hmm.
Kelsier. So this is a dramatic event for her and what it means for her
Mm.
than it is
She
for
wouldn't.
Kelsier.
It makes sense. She would notice it. It wouldn't be like a later thing that she goes, "Oh yeah, I suppose." No, she's very thoughtful, and I do think she has more good in her. As much as she tries to avoid it, she sees it as
Mhm.
as weakness.
As a weakness, yeah. Well, those are Reen's words.
Mm-hmm. It's
So
not her. Yeah.
There was rustling behind. Vin spun to see another squadron of soldiers enter through a door opposite her. To the side, Kelsier dropped his candelabrum and stepped forward. The room's 4 lanterns suddenly ripped from their mountings, slamming directly toward him. He ducked to the side, letting the lanterns crash together. The room fell dark. Vin burned tin, her eyes adapting to light from the corridor outside. The guards, however, stumbled to a halt. Kelsier was amid them. A second later, daggers flashing in the darkness, men screaming, then all was silent. Vin stood, surrounded by death, bloodied coins dribbling from her stunned fingers. But she kept a tight grip on her dagger, if only to steady her quivering arm. Kelsier laid a hand on her shoulder, and she jumped. These were evil men, Vin. Every Ska knows in his heart that it is the greatest of crimes to take up arms in defense of the final empire. Vin nodded numbly. She felt wrong. Maybe it was the death, but now that she was actually within the building, she swore that she could still feel the Lord Ruler's power. Something seemed to push her emotions, making her more depressed, despite her copper.
which is more evidence, as you were
Mm.
saying, that something going on here beyond mere soothing is happening. And you have to wonder, was Kelsier lying when he just said, activate your copper, burn copper, and you'll be fine? Or is this something unique to Vin?
Yeah, I think it is unique because there was some feeling of relief. The sensation did go away when she burnt copper. Maybe that was from range. I don't know if okay, because she burnt it there, then it went away. But now that she was in the building, she's closer, so her copper
Mm-hmm.
is being affected. Like it's not as effective. Yeah, and there's also this, whatever this push is, it's not something that you just you become immune. It's actually more powerful than your copper. And
Yes.
maybe Kelsier does feel this and doesn't notice because he's just got more depression in him, which is weird because Vin's rather depressed. But then again, she's always in fear more than depression. Yeah, maybe it's possible that they feel the same things. They just haven't noticed them. Well, Kelsey is not as sensitive as Vin is, or
Yes.
Vin is unique and is feeling more because she's special. And
True. And we
I
don't get
like the
Kelsier's.
curiosity. We don't get Kelsey's point of view, no. But do you think he's lying? You use the word lie.
Yeah, well, we do know he lies. I don't know, because if the prophecy says his name shall be Discord and they will love him for it, we can apply those characteristics to Kelsier.
Mm-hmm.
But if we consider the epigraph man's I can feel it pulling, it's calling to me, that it seems to be more in line with what Vin is experiencing. So I don't know if he's lying or not. I don't necessarily think so, though.
I think he's doing his best. he's telling what he can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, look at this. Oh yes, also just another thing quickly. Remember you were saying how Calcia says the right things. He knows what Vin needs to hear. And this is an example, even in the midst of this
True.
chaos, and that he's said these were bad men, because he does have high empathy. He knows that Vin's just probably killed for the first time, and she's very jumpy and scared and traumatized. And he's now just the first thing he has to tell her is that, listen, it's okay, because they were bad men. We've moralized it. And this also is a insight into himself. That's what he does every time he kills. He has to say that these are bad men and it's fine. These are bad men and it's fine. And then you see Marsh, who tried to bring that up later when he brought the list of names and things, because they had families and whatever. He tried to bring that morality onto it, because it's like, yeah, just because they're on the other side doesn't mean they're not people and you're not committing atrocities. So yeah, that entire moral conundrum is within that exchange. I love this. I love it.
Come, time is short. Kelsier took off again, hopping lithely over corpses, and Vin felt herself following.
Sorry, just another word there. Felt herself following. Just really good. Like that's what happens when you're in trauma. You remove yourself from your body. You just kind of, okay, your body, it just goes and does things automatically. So she is properly shook. Okay. I made him bring me. I wanted to fight like him. I'm going to have to get used to this. Which is really sad that she's thinking that way. It's just like, yeah, it's true. I was happy with her noticing this. Like, listen, you don't get to now just be a spoiled brat and be like, I want to get out of here. That's not what she's like. She does accept the consequences.
Determination.
That doesn't absolve Calcia here. But she made a decision, and she's now, no, I asked for this. So I'm glad that she has that self-insight.
True.
They dashed into a second corridor, and Kelsier jumped into the air. He lurched, then shot forward. Vin did the same, leaping and seeking an anchor far down the corridor, then using it to pull herself through the air. Side corridors whipped past the air, a rushing howl in her tin-enhanced ears. Ahead, 2 soldiers stepped into the corridor. Kelsier slammed feet first into one, then flipped up and slammed a dagger into the other's neck. Both men fell.
No metal. None of the guards in this place wear metal.
Haze killers, they were called. Men trained to fight allomancers. Kelsier ducked down a side corridor, and Vin had to sprint to keep up with him. She flared pewter, willing her legs to move faster. Ahead, Kelsier stopped, and Vin lurched to a halt beside him. To their right was an open arching doorway, and it shone with a light far brighter than that of the small corridor lanterns. Vin extinguished her tin, following Kelsier through the archway and into the room. 6 braziers burned with open flames at the corners of the large dome-roofed chamber. In contrast to the simple corridors, this room was covered with silver-inlaid murals. Each obviously represented the Lord Ruler. They were like the windows she had seen earlier, except less abstract. She saw a mountain, a large cavern, a pool of light, and something very dark. Kelsier strode forward, and Vin turned. The center of the room was dominated by a small structure, a building within the building. Ornate with carved stone and flowing patterns, the single-story building stood reverently before them. All in all, the quiet, empty chamber gave Vin a strange feeling of solemnity. Kelsier walked forward, bare feet falling on smooth black marble. Vin followed in a nervous crouch. The room seemed empty, but there had to be other guards. Kelsier walked up to a large oaken door set in the inner building, its surface carved with letterings Vin didn't recognize. He reached out and pulled open the door. A steel Inquisitor stood inside. The creature smiled, lips curling in an eerie expression beneath the 2 massive spikes that had been pounded point first through its eyes.
And at this point, I was like, oh shit! Oh shit!
That one sentence, a steel Inquisitor stood inside. Oh god. I was like, okay, That's it. We're done. Oh, no.
Yes. And it wasn't until about 2 paragraphs later that I had a thought, and we're going to have a discussion.
Yes, we are.
Kelsier paused for a mere moment, then he yelled, "Vin, run!" The Inquisitor's hand snapped forward, grabbing him by the throat. Vin froze. To the side she saw 2 other black-robed Inquisitors stride through open archways, tall, lean, and bald. They were also marked by their spikes and intricate Ministry eye tattoos. The closest Inquisitor lifted Kelsier up into the air by his neck. "Kelsier, the survivor of Hathsin," the creature said in a grinding voice. Then he turned toward Vin. "And you. I've been looking for you. I'll let this one die quickly if you tell me which nobleman spawned you, half-breed."
Oh my god, you're doing such a good voice. I'm so sorry. I just need to enjoy that.
Thank you.
Really, really good. I wish that we had the better audio quality but even with this audio quality, it's great. Because I was thinking of when I listened to the audiobook, I was like, okay, so how's Dorkus gonna do this voice? And you definitely delivered. Thank you.
You are too kind. I'm blushing now. So when I'm a bit flustered, thank you.
Sorry, I flustered you.
When the other 2 walked out, I wondered to myself, are there just always at least 3
Yeah.
Inquisitors here at all times? And that brought me to my next thought. What if there was no betrayal last time, and it is just that there are always Inquisitors there?
Yes, that's exactly. I completely agree. It makes it, you can see that Kelsier had that thought. He thought that, like, he literally, and also we know that Brandon Sanderson didn't just put things by mistake. There's no mistakes here. Okay, so him saying to Vin there wasn't, as in, and did he say there were Inquisitors or an Inquisitor was there? I think they were there when we arrived. And
Yeah.
that is, and it's very clear that that is, they really think that that is because there was betrayal. But I do agree. I think that there's, just by the nature of this, there's always
Yes.
Inquisitors there. And it's like, because there are 3 as well, you don't even need, even if you're just going to fight Kelsier, I really don't think you need 3 Inquisitors. So the
Well,
fact that there are,
the
yeah.
the thing is, if the thing that they are protecting is like
Very
the
important.
most important thing in the kingdom, yes, you
Yes.
do need several
3.
Inquisitors.
Yes, that's true. That's true. If it's not about Kelsier, it's actually just about having that there it is required.
Yes, and
Just
I need
and
to talk
yeah.
to you about the architectural layout
Mm-hmm.
of the passageways as they are described, because I have a theory about what's in that room. And
Mm.
well, we'll get to it.
Oh my God, just so much. But this room is very important. Also, I just wanted to ask you. So she looked then she saw windows and like art things that depict the whole. She saw mountains and whatever. It was very weird, that description, that it's just like a light chamber with light and then just and something very dark, which is like they've always said, oh, the deepness is a formless thing, or like visualizes a formless blob sort of thing, and then she just goes something very dark. I don't know, it was just very strange. I don't know. I don't know if you had any comment on that other than yes.
It's a meta knowledge, but I think one of the other books is called The Well of Ascension. So
Mm.
I'm just kind of presuming that the light is that well of ascension, and then the darkness is the
Mm.
deepness.
Ooh, I like that.
Now, in practicality, I don't know what the well of ascension is in world or anything like that, but
Yeah, and just a note here, because I'm just surrounded by the YouTube media criticism world, and a lot of the time a criticism is, oh, there's a mystery box in media, and it's like, yeah, this is not a mystery box. This is mystery. This is not knowing. This is real. This is good mystery. Okay, not knowing something doesn't not necessarily make it great entertainment or great writing. The way that this is wrapped and shrouded in all kinds of mystery, all kinds of possibilities, that is good writing. That's not just mystery box put there in front of you and whatever. It's beautiful.
My understanding with the idea of mystery box storytelling in television, at least,
Mm-hmm.
starting with Lost, and when it's used as a pejorative, is
Mm-hmm.
something to the effect of the Lost writers didn't actually have answers for the mysteries that they were setting up. Whereas I am pretty darn confident in the belief that Brandon Sanderson knows the answer to every mystery in this book.
And that is exactly, he uses the answer to craft the mystery. I'm enjoying it. I'm sorry, I know. Yeah, this makes me just have high hopes for the movie if he's properly involved. Please, Lord Ruler, bless us.
Yes. And a little bit of a teaser for folks. At some point, Kitteh and I are tentatively thinking about doing a live stream where we
Yes,
fan cast some of the characters that we have been introduced to thus far.
yes,
So
teaser.
yeah. So we'll keep you updated on that
There's
one.
no might. Yeah, there's no might about it. We are gonna do it. It's just about when.
Yes, and I'm wondering in my mind, we've already had discussions about who
Mm.
we might cast where. So for me to say we shouldn't tell each other who we're thinking of, we're kind of past that point already. But I'm wondering if we agree not to discuss with each other anymore, and
Yes, no
then
further.
okay, no further discussion, and we're going to come together for that live stream with our own casts, and we will compare and contrast. Yes?
Yes, exciting.
Excellent. Okay.
Kelsier coughed, struggling for breath as he pried at the creature's grip. The Inquisitor turned, regarding Kelsier with spike-end eyes. Kelsier coughed again as if trying to say something, and the Inquisitor curiously pulled Kelsier a bit closer. Kelsier's hand whipped out, ramming a dagger into the creature's neck. As the Inquisitor stumbled, Kelsier slammed his fist into the creature's forearm, shattering the bone with a snap. The Inquisitor dropped him, and Kelsier fell to the reflective marble floor, coughing. Gasping for breath, Kelsier looked up at Finn with intense eyes. "I said run!" he croaked, tossing something to her. Finn reached out to catch the coin pouch, however it lurched suddenly in the air, shooting forward. Abruptly, she realized Kelsier wasn't throwing it to her, but at her. The bag hit her in the chest, pushed by Kelsier's allomancy. It hurled her across the room, past the two surprised Inquisitors, until she finally dropped awkwardly to the floor, skidding on the marble.
And I almost thought of the scene in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf and Saruman
Mm-hmm.
fight.
Finn looked up, slightly dazed. In the distance, Kelsier regained his feet. The main Inquisitor didn't seem very concerned about the dagger in his neck.
And then I'm like, oh, whoa,
Oh
did
yeah.
it scratch or did it hit the vocal cords, which I think it did from a description later.
Mm, okay.
But
I didn't think about that, but yeah, I can see it.
The other two Inquisitors stood between her and Kelsier. One turned toward her, and Vin felt chilled by its horrifying, unnatural gaze. "Run!" The word echoed in the domed chamber, and this time, finally, it struck home. Vin scrambled to her feet, fear shocking her, screaming at her, making her move. She dashed toward the nearest archway, uncertain if it was the one. She clutched Kelsier's coin pouch and burned iron, frantically seeking an anchor down the corridor.
Must get away.
She grabbed the first bit of metal she saw and yanked, tearing herself off the ground. She shot down the corridor at an uncontrolled speed, terror flaring her iron. She lurched suddenly, and everything spun. She hit the ground at an awkward angle, her head slamming against the rough stone, then lay dizzily, wondering what had happened. The coin pouch. Someone had pulled on it, using its metal to yank her backward.
so she's running away, and then she's being pulled back where she came from, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Vin rolled over and saw a dark form shooting down the corridor. The Inquisitor's robes fluttered as he dropped lightly to his feet a short distance from Vin. He strode forward, his face impassive. Vin flared tin and pewter, clearing her mind and pushing away the pain. She whipped out a few coins, pushing them at the Inquisitor. He raised a hand and both coins froze in the air. Vin's own push suddenly threw her backward, and she tumbled across the stones, skidding and sliding. She heard the coins pling against the floor as she came to a rest. She shook her head, a dozen new bruises flaring angrily across her body. The Inquisitor stepped over the discarded coins, walking toward her with a smooth gait.
I have to get away.
Even Kelsier had been afraid to face an Inquisitor. If he couldn't fight one, what chance did she have? None. She dropped the pouch and jumped to her feet, then she ran, ducking through the first doorway she saw. The room beyond was empty of people, but a golden altar stood at its center. Between the altar, the 4 candelabra at the corners, and the cluttering of other religious paraphernalia, the space was cramped.
Okay, so she ran, she got pulled back. Is this the room that the 3 Inquisitors were protecting?
I did not get that. I did not feel that way. I thought she ran very far, and also she's gone into an archway or like a room, whereas what they were protecting was it had an oak door and it was a building inside a larger space. So
Okay.
that was my perception. This is more in corridors and around, like, so there's corridors. It's more restricted. There's no hall, because basically it seemed like there was a hall, and inside that hall, I know that my South Africanism is heavy right now. And it seemed more of a confined space that she was in terms of the words corridor and being pulled places. It was very disorienting. So I wasn't so much thinking backwards as in it was just backwards behind her. It's not backwards as in back towards where she was coming from. But this is just my experience of it. This, because of the words corridor and things like that, I felt like it was elsewhere. But I do see the possibility because of those braziers as well, the thing that they're talking about them.
Right.
And it's possible that it's a weird place. It's disorienting.
Right. And she is clearly very disoriented. Now, I will say I feel very much like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia Charlie meme with the crazy, and he's got the board. So what in this room, she picks up a book, right? And she's going to be using the book. And then I crafted this conspiracy theory in my mind that the book is what the Inquisitors were guarding, and the book is the Lord Ruler's journal, and those are the epigraphs that we've been reading, and that's been going on in my mind this whole week.
Yeah, so that was not what's happened in my mind. It was just a book.
Okay.
It was some sort of religious reading text, whatever. Especially because it's large and leather bound. So it made me think of like a Bible or like some scripture. And also what I did wonder is, why are they guarding it? Okay. But then I guess he didn't automatically, he didn't know that she was going to use it as a shield. Spoiler alert for the next few paragraphs. He didn't make an effort to take this book from her. So if it's something that they're guarding, it's discarded far too easily.
Okay.
Yeah,
those are fair. Those are fair counters.
Yeah, I do think that this is an important thing because it's an altar and whatever, but I'm wondering if that's just a place where people would go and read this, or he would go and read this. I do agree that could be his journal, but I don't believe, the way that I've read it, I don't believe that this is what they were guarding.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're differing there, but I do see the possibility, and I would like to know what it was.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vin turned, pulling a candelabrum into her hands, remembering Kelsier's trick from before. The Inquisitor stepped into the room, then raised an almost amused hand, ripping the candelabrum from her hands in an easy allomantic pull.
He's so strong,
Vin thought with horror. He was probably steadying himself by pulling against the lantern brackets behind. The force of his iron pulls was far more powerful than Kelsier's had ever been. Vin jumped.
Do you think it's stronger because Kelsier was pulling his punches, or because the Inquisitor is stronger than normal?
I think the Inquisitor is stronger than normal. I don't even know if maybe Vin is trying to rationalize. She's saying maybe he's anchoring himself by pushing against the other things in the room. I don't even think so. I think that just the way, I don't think he even needs that sort of anchoring and counterweight or whatever. He is that formidable. I mean, bro, an Inquisitor just got stabbed in the neck and just carried on.
And it's still going.
Yeah, so yeah, it's very scary. I like it. It is. It's horror.
It
He's
is.
just,
Reading this was really scary.
yeah, this is just mopping the floor with her, and she's just little Vin, and then yeah, imagine you thought Calcia was strong, and then
Yeah,
this happens, and you're just like, also just that. Remember, we had a reference where they had that pushing match between the coins, right?
right.
Immediately he stopped. He was like a brick wall for her coins. This Inquisitor, she knocked herself out. She started pushing herself because he stopped those coins. It was like being a brick wall. So yeah, he's properly strong. And it's very
Also,
scary. We know the odds here, the stakes. Yeah.
yes, and if a throwback to a previous episode, if we're going to be making parallels to Star Wars and the hero's journey,
Hmm.
this moment is Luke Skywalker going to face Darth Vader before he's ready and losing his hand in the process. This is the young hero, Vin, saying, I'm ready, or I won't ever have the chance to be ready, so take me with
Hmm.
you, to Kredik Shaw, even though she is not ready to do so, and
Hmm.
she will suffer the consequence of trying to force the encounter before.
Oh yes, I see the parallel.
Good.
Vin jumped, pulling herself slightly up and over the altar. At the doorway, the Inquisitor reached over to a bowl that sat atop a short pillar, pulling out what appeared to be a handful of small metal triangles. They were sharp on all sides, and they cut the creature's hand in a dozen different places.
Okay, see, and then this is in contrast. If I were filming this or if I were animating this, this would be in contrast to the shot of Vin's fist
Hmm.
in gray with the red. Now, this would be like the dark version of that. Yeah?
Yes. Oh yeah, I get it. Nice. Let
They were.
let Dorkus direct it. Come on.
Mr. Sanderson, I would happily offer you my services as director of the upcoming Mistborn show.
It's a film, apparently.
He ignored the wounds, raising a bloody hand toward her. Vin yelped, ducking behind the altar as a piece of metal sprayed against the back wall. You are trapped, the Inquisitor said in a scratchy voice. Come with me. Vin glanced to the side. There weren't any other doors in the room. She peeked up, glancing at the Inquisitor, and a piece of metal shot at her face. She pushed against it, but the Inquisitor was too strong. She had to duck and let the metal go, lest his power pin her back against the wall.
I'll need something to block with. Something that isn't made of metal.
As she heard the Inquisitor step into the room, she found what she needed. A large leather-bound book sitting beside the altar. She grabbed it, then hesitated. There was no use in being rich if she died. She pulled out Kelsier's vial and downed the atium, then burnt it. The Inquisitor's shadow stepped around the side of the altar, then the actual Inquisitor followed a second later. The atium shadow opened its hand and a spray of tiny, translucent daggers shot at her. Vin raised her book as the real daggers followed. She swung the book through the shadow trails just as the real daggers shot toward her. She caught every one, their sharp, jagged edges digging deeply into the book's leather cover. The Inquisitor paused, and she was rewarded by what seemed to be a look of confusion on his twisted face. Then 100 shadow images shot from his body.
Lord Ruler.
Vin thought. He had atium too. Not pausing to worry about what that meant, Vin hopped over the altar, carrying the book with her as protection against further missiles. The Inquisitor spun, spike eyes following her as she ducked back into the hallway. A squad of soldiers stood waiting for her. However, each one bore a future shadow. Vin ducked between them, barely watching where their weapons would fall, somehow avoiding the attacks of 12 different men. And for a moment, she almost forgot the pain and fear, and they were replaced by an incredible sense of power. She dodged effortlessly, staves swinging above and beside her, each one missing by mere inches. She was invincible. She spun through the ranks of the men, not bothering to kill or hurt them. She only wanted to escape. As she passed the last one, she turned around a corner, and a second Inquisitor, his body springing with shadow images, stepped up and slammed something sharp into her lower side. Vin gasped in pain. There was a sickening sound as the creature pulled his weapon free of her body. It was a length of wood affixed with sharp obsidian blades. Vin grasped her side, stumbling backward, feeling a terrifying amount of warm blood seeping from the wound. The Inquisitor looked familiar.
The first one from the other room.
She thought through the pain.
Does that mean then Calcia's dead?
Who is your father? The Inquisitor asked. Vin kept her hand at her side, trying to stop the blood. It was a large wound. A bad wound. She had seen such wounds before. They always killed. Yet she still stood,
Pewter.
her confused mind thought.
Flare pewter.
She did so, the metal giving her body strength, letting her stay on her feet. The soldier stepped back to let the second Inquisitor approach her from the side. Vin looked in horror from one Inquisitor to the other, both descending upon her, blood pouring between her fingers and down her side. The lead Inquisitor still carried the axe-like weapon, its edge coated with blood. Her blood.
I'm going to die,
she thought with terror. And then she heard it. Rain. It was faint, but her tin-enhanced ears picked it out behind her. She spun, lurching through a doorway, and was rewarded by the sight of a large archway. On the other side of the room, mist pooled at the room's floor, and rain slapped the stones outside.
Must have been where the guards came from,
she thought. She kept her pewter flared, amazed at how well her body still worked, and stumbled out into the rain, reflexively clutching the leather book to her chest. You think to escape? The lead Inquisitor asked from behind, his voice amused. Numbly, Vin reached into the sky and pulled against one of the palace's many spires. She heard the Inquisitor curse as she pitched into the air, hurtling up into the dark night. The 1,000 spires rose around her. She pulled against one, then switched to another. The rain was strong now, and it made the night black. There was no mist to reflect ambient light, and the stars were hidden by clouds above. Vin couldn't see where she was going. She had to use allomancy to sense the metallic tips of the spires, and hope there was nothing in between. She hit a spire, catching hold of it in the night and pulling to a stop.
Have to bandage the wound,
she thought weakly. She was beginning to grow numb, her head cloudy despite her pewter and tin. Something slammed against the spire above her, and she heard a low growl. Vin pushed off, even as she felt the Inquisitor slash the air beside her. She had one chance. Mid-jump, she pulled herself sideways toward a different spire. At the same time, she pushed against the book in her hands. It still had bits of metal embedded in its cover. The book continued in the direction she had been going, metal lines glowing weakly in the night. It was the only metal she had on her. Vin caught the next spire lightly, trying to make as little sound as possible. She strained in the night, burning tin. The rainfall becoming a thunder in her ears. Over it, she thought she heard the distinct sound of something hitting a spire in the direction she had pushed the book. The Inquisitor had fallen for her ruse. Vin sighed, hanging from the spire, rain splattering her body. She made sure her copper was still burning, pulled lightly against the spire to hold herself in place, and ripped off a piece of her shirt to bandage the wound. Despite her numb mind, she couldn't help noticing how big the gash was.
Oh, Lord,
she thought. Without pewter, she would have fallen unconscious long ago. She should be dead. Something sounded in the darkness. Vin felt a chill looking up. All was black around her.
It can't be. He can't.
Something slammed into her spire. Vin cried out, jumping away. She pulled herself toward another spire, caught it weakly, then immediately pushed off again. The Inquisitor followed, thuds sounding as he jumped from spire to spire behind her.
And at this point, I just kept thinking, she's not going to get away. He is just...
Yeah. How?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
he's invincible. Okay, she felt invincible for a second, but he is relentless and powerful, and I'm like, something's got to give here. And also just the since that stab, okay, since that wound, it's not a stab, since that, I don't know, what do you call it, like
the stab.
Yeah. It's not even but it's big. It's a massive pierce. I don't know. I can't find the word. The wound, yeah. Since that wound, I'm like, oh my god, her blood, her life is just, yeah. Without pewter, dead, absolutely. And you know that she is hanging on, literally and figuratively. It is very scary. You know that she's got to survive, but that does not take away from. Well, we need to the panic. There's still panic. I had such panic. Just this hanging on and this what like you're like, okay, how so you know that main character. So this is the thing of like, yes, there's plot armor here, but you're like, how does she get through this? That's the scary part, because you're like, cool, fine, she's got to survive, but you just can't imagine how. Oh god, this was difficult reading. I was like, oh my goodness.
And throwing in, Brandon Sanderson does such a wonderful job of making it clear that she is losing her ability to think. She's flustered, she's fading, she's wounded, and it really comes across in the writing.
Yeah, her thoughts are just, they're done. They're not even fully formed, really. It's just like wisps of words and things like that. You can see it. You can see she's fading, and you feel that urgency. You're like, just keep going, go. And you see her fading, and you're powerless. Oh my god, it's so very good. And the Inquisitors just formidable. I just.
You said relentless earlier, and that is
Mm-hmm.
so accurate.
Yeah.
But she thinks to herself,
He found me. He couldn't see me, hear me, or sense me, but he found me.
Vin hit a spire, holding it by one hand, limply hanging in the night. Her strength was nearly gone.
I have to get away. Hide.
Her hands were numb, and her mind felt nearly the same. Her fingers slipped from the cold, wet metal of the spire, and she felt herself drop free into the darkness. She fell with the rain. However, she went only a short distance before thudding against something hard, the roof of a particularly tall bit of the palace. Dazed, she climbed to her knees, crawling away from the spire, seeking a corner.
Hide, hide, hide.
She crawled weakly to the nook formed by another tower. She huddled against the dark corner, lying in a deep puddle of ashy rainwater, arms wrapped around herself. Her body was wet with rain and blood. She thought for a single moment that she might have escaped. A dark form thumped to the rooftop. The rain was letting up, and her tin revealed a head set up with 2 spikes, a body cloaked in a dark robe. She was too weak to move, too weak to do more than shiver in the puddle of water, clothing plastered to her skin. The Inquisitor turned toward her. "Such a small, troubling thing you are." He stepped forward, but Vin could barely hear his words. It was growing dark again. No, it was just her mind. Her vision grew dark, her eyes closing. Her wound didn't hurt anymore. She couldn't even think. A sound like shattering branches, then arms gripped her. Warm arms, not the arms of death. She forced her eyes open.
Calcia?
But it wasn't Kelsier's face that looked back at her, streaked with concern. It was a different, kinder face. She sighed in relief, drifting away as the strong arms pulled her close, making her feel oddly safe in the terrible storm of night.
Damn! Oh, okay. You have things to talk about. Yes.
Okay. I sent Kitty a list. Right after I read this, I sent Kitty a list, and this list is people I think could have been the one to rescue her at the end. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to discuss. Okay?
Okay.
In order
yes.
of
Okay,
likeliness.
so you put it. Okay, go.
Okay.
Your order of likeliness. Yes.
What?
Yeah, your order of likeliness. Yes.
Okay.
Are we going to give the whole list or discuss them point by point?
What do you want to do, Kitty?
Okay, I want us to give the whole list and then we'll discuss them one by one.
Okay. Lord Ruler. New character, meaning someone we haven't met yet. Sazed. Elend. Gemmel.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all of the possibilities I could think of and the likelihood in those orders.
So you put Lord Ruler as the likeliest. Interesting.
Yes.
I did consider Lord Ruler as because he's clearly near because she can feel so much. Then again, yeah, we think that we thought that the bad feeling is the Lord Ruler, but actually it could be the deepness, and Lord Ruler can be kinder. And yeah, I see it. But for me, the likelihood is similar between new character, as in that we don't know, and Lord Ruler. So obviously, Lord Ruler would be a new character in a way because we haven't actually met him. But yeah, I was just more just good thinking back to the first read through. I was just thinking, okay, I need to know who this is. Is it who is the new? Because it's her mind is foggy, so we don't know. It's equally likely that it's a stranger or it's somebody she's actually met, because she is so, what do you call it, so disoriented. She knows it's not Calcia. That's all she can really grab onto at this point. But strong arms and like, oh god, I hate that the clip hammer. I'm like, who is this? But that's exactly it. She basically passes out in the arms of an angel.
Yes. So look, I think the Lord Ruler being the one to save her would be one of the most surprising things that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Vin is special. I think there might be a possibility that the Lord Ruler can see into the future to some degree. And maybe he knows that he failed and that, I don't know. But I think it would also be really interesting. And what a great look! I think there might be some sort of reconciliation between the Lord Ruler and Kelsier by the end of this. Not necessarily reconciliation, but some sort of deeper understanding of each other by the end. So we've only heard of the Lord Ruler through the POV of the Ska, trusting notwithstanding. So I don't see why it couldn't be that he has in person a warm and inviting appearance to someone like
Yes.
Vin, who is, in this circumstance.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that I couldn't grapple with was just, okay, what do we do with that? Huh? What? I have no predictions for what happens now if he's rescued her. Why is he? So the Inquisitors, he doesn't have control, immediate control. Yeah,
Join the dark side.
Like, yeah, exactly. So I see it happening, but I'm like, okay, I don't know what we do with that. I don't know what comes next. So it's a possibility I definitely considered, and it would be a very interesting one. I agree. It's a great twist because we have like, no, this guy's all bad. There's no way we expect him to even look ugly, you know? We expect him to be just horrible and noticeably full of hate. I don't know. But this a kinder face than Kelsier is. Like, Kelsier isn't the most kind. That's not the first thing you think about, but you think of him as mischievous and happy, right? But she's like a kinder face than Kelsier, and I'm like, whoa. We've never even, and also it's highly unlikely to be Ellen because Ellen was not described as particularly strapping. Number one, strong arms.
I'm looking at my list, and I would switch Ellen and Gemmel. I think Gemmel is more likely than Ellen. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But Gemmel's really old. But yeah, it's a possibility. I did think of Ham because of the large muscles, basically. It's just the big arms, big strong arms. But
I don't think it's anyone in the crew.
Yeah. Okay, it's someone new. But I'm dying to read on. We have to figure out. And what happened to Kelsier? And so, yeah.
It wouldn't have been Marsh either, I don't think.
Yeah, because Marsh doesn't have he's got a piercing face.
Yeah, and I don't think he has like the ability to be there at that time.
And also, yeah, it has to be somebody with powers. I think somebody with not just a misting. Let's see. I want to see. I need to figure it out. I want to know. Okay.
So descending the order, Lord Ruler, new character. Do you think it's?
I'm feeling like it's the Lord Ruler.
Excellent. Okay, so Sazed. We know Sazed gave Vin a discerning look when she lied about going to bed. And we know that he seems to be a man of incredible talents, though mysterious talents. So it's
unknown powers.
It is possible that he could have followed her and been there to rescue her. I would place my bets on the other two options before Sazed, but if it's neither of them, then I would guess him.
Yeah, who else would it be?
Right, which leads me then to Gemmel rather than Ellen.
Yeah, because it's just like, if we're gonna say new character, who would be the options for new character?
We know Gemmel is a talented Mistborn.
Yeah, but he is old. But then again, you can still be strong, and I don't know. It's killing me.
And then there's Ellen, who, as far as we know, according to the text, does not have any misting capabilities.
And why would he be there? But then again, that he might have followed from the.
That's possible. Although
adventure, it's very unlikely. I don't feel like it's.
Agreed, and he was not described as strong.
Yeah, and not kind. He doesn't have this kind face. Like there's if the person has he just seemed like he's a lot more haughty than kind. I don't hearty. That's anyway.
Haughty. Haughty.
That one, yes.
I believe it's pronounced
hearty. But what I also I don't think I'd like it if it was Elend. It would be ugh.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But, you know,
I don't
I have my anti-Elend bias, so.
No, it's not even. I don't even have that bias. I'm just like, well, that's lame. So,
Yeah.
but hey, even if that is, that I'm sure whatever happens is not going to be lame. I will let you know if it's lame, but I just don't expect lameness even when I expect lameness. Okay, so
Well,
even if it is
let's
Ellen, I'm like that's lame, but I'm like no, Brandon Sanderson would make it not lame.
let's take the question a step further. Who do you
Okay,
want the rescuer to be?
the Lord Ruler,
Same.
because it's
I
more
think that's
complex.
yeah, I think it's a super interesting possibility. So, yeah.
And exactly, it's super interesting. I don't know what I would do with it. I don't know. It leaves the story even more up in the air for me, but I want it that way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And like this book has taken twists I didn't think it would take, so
yeah. This is yeah. We're on our way with this.
okay, look, guys, full disclosure, I need to know right away what happens in the next chapter.
We
So
we we need to know.
we need to know. So we're gonna do another like blind read through for the
Live.
next episode. A lot. Wait, what?
Yeah, alive. We're doing it live, as in like
We're doing
live
it live.
live read through with like the way we did chapter 10.
Yes. So when next week's episode, chapter 15, airs, know that it was recorded more or less minutes after this episode ends.
Have a nice life. Oh yes, by the way, like and subscribe.
Subscribe to ThatDarnKitteh.
No, subscribe to the No One Asked You podcast. This is not the only stuff on this channel.
Okay, but wait, was there anything else to discuss in this episode?
I don't know. Look at your notes. I think okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy. But there is your question here. What if the epigraphs are fragments of the journal that Vin stole? So it's to you, it
Yeah.
was the journal. Okay. What implications of
Yes.
that?
I think, and okay, what are the implications of that? Well, that means that pretty soon the crew, Vin at least, likely the crew, likely Kelsier, will soon have access to the same pool of information that we have had with regard to Epigraph Man, the Lord Ruler, and the Deepness, which will grant them similar insight that we have had.
Mm-hmm.
So it might get them thinking the way we have been thinking.
Yes.
And then Ham might spearhead and, well, maybe we are doing the wrong thing then.
Yeah.
Ty-
Oh gosh. Yeah, I see it. There are still epigraphs in the next. I did think I was thinking that is a great theory because we're not going to get the lore dump of this though. We're not going to. So even if they do have this journal, we're not. Well, they did. They don't have it anymore. They don't have it because she threw it. Remember? Damn it.
Did she throw it? I thought she still had
Yeah.
it at the end there.
No. She did a coin purse ruse where she pushed it. That's how she got to bandage her wound. It's
Okay,
gone.
but that
Never
doesn't.
mind. Yeah,
That doesn't mean. That does not mean that the mysterious rescuer didn't pick it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, someone else. We'll see. We'll find out. I think the journal is important, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's
I don't
actually
think
like really.
I see the possibility that it's the journal, but I didn't think it was. I thought it was scriptures, something like that, because it's a big, thick book. I thought it was scripture. And the thing is, the journal would be something of scripture if the Lord Ruler is now God. But yeah, we will see. And that is why I'm dying to read the next chapter. And I don't think we'll get all the answers in the next chapter. I don't think so. But
no,
the next chapter 15 is the end of part 2.
Okay, great. Is that everything?
I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We'll see you all next week / a couple minutes from now.
Bye.
Bye.